So today I want to welcome to the show Amelia Scott Barrett, or should I say Dr. Amelia Scott Barrett. She is a neurologist who trained at Stanford and then started a private practice in Denver in 2003. In 2018, she founded Migraine Relief Code and offers online courses to show people how to find and fix the hidden causes of headaches using new tools like genetic testing and smart health devices, which I've got one of them on myself today. Yes, wonderful. Dr. Barrett envisions a world where disabling headaches are a thing of the past and people are able to fully live the lives they love. She did an amazing TED Talk, which I listened to earlier on today, and this was recorded in 2023, on how repeated migraines physically change the brain in a process called chronification. So welcome, Dr. Amelia.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me here today. And shout out to your listeners, our brothers and sisters in the field.
Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. So tell me, let's begin. What inspired you to pursue a career in medicine?
You know, I am one of those people who always knew that I was going to be a doctor. I remember being 8 years old and I told my parents that I was going to be a doctor when I grew up. And they're like, you know, you don't have to decide yet. It's okay. But I think I just always knew, had a gut feeling. I've always connected very much with being a healer. I've always been super interested in science, and I've always wanted to help people. So it is the one career that allows you to do all those things.
I love it. I love it. Wonderful. I personally decided when I was 12. So you beat me to it.
Yeah, same life journey.
Yeah, 8 is very young, isn't it? It's amazing. Fantastic. So tell me, how was medical training and your early career and residency, all of that? How was that journey for you?
Well, extremely hard. You know, I did my residency back in the days before there were hours restrictions. So it wasn't unusual to work 100 hours a week. We would go to the hospital at 7 o'clock one morning and come home at 7 o'clock the next day, you know, show up at work the following day for a normal 12-hour day. And then the very next morning, we'd be back for another 36-hour shift. And I wasn't working every minute of that. I usually got about 4 hours of sleep. But that doesn't leave a lot of time for anything outside of medicine, for any kind of a work-life balance, for taking care of yourself. And I think those are things that so many of us miss out on. We are trained in those years of our lives that this is how it's done. And I think that it can take us decades to get back to a healthier balance, to healthier boundaries around self-preservation. I really think it's self-preservation, not self-care. And I think some of us never do. And that's part of the reason we're seeing such high rates of burnout in the medical profession.
Absolutely. And you know, that this is one of the remits of this podcast, is to kind of help doctors and medical students understand that, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. And I think there has been a sea change of a kind of opinion, and things are slowly improving. But, you know, for a lot of people, it's too little too late. And it'd be great if we could prevent that. And, you know, we need good people in the medical profession.
We do.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what is one piece of advice you wish you'd received when you were starting your medical career?
Go to bed earlier. I think that, you know, one of the things that has changed both in public perception and in medicine is that we now have a much deeper appreciation for what sleep does to our body. You know, it's been during my career as a neurologist that we've discovered the glymphatic system. I remember being at a lecture, I don't know, maybe a decade ago, and seeing some of these images of the, you know, labeled tracers flowing through the glymphatic system. And, you know, there were just like audible gasps in the audience, like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And wow. And, so I think we have a much deeper appreciation for how important that is for the health of our brain, and also the extent to which our brain is plastic. I started as a neurologist during the era when we were told, you've got so many neurons, by the time you're about 25, that's it, take good care of them, good luck. And, we now know that's not the case, and that cleaning out our brain every night with the lymphatics is absolutely key, that you can, in fact, make some new neurons. You can 100% make new synaptic connections, and that taking care of our brains is terribly important for how we function during the day, not just cognitively, but in terms of our emotional resilience. And as a doctor, I honestly think you need that emotional resilience piece as much as you need your intellect. I mean, what do you think? I feel like,
yeah, I completely agree. And, I think back to days when I wasn't coping at all. And I am sure it significantly affected my patient care, without a doubt. So, yeah, it's, and I don't know about you, Dr. Amelia, when I was early on in my career, I mean, nobody talked about it. And if you did mention anything about, not feeling mentally well, it was frowned upon. Everybody kind of, hushed you out of the room, and you got no support at all. Nobody talked about it. Whereas there is a change happening there, which I think is amazing.
Right.
Yeah, it's, mental well-being is just as important as physical well-being, which is just as important as intellect, like you say.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you a better doctor when you are able to show up at work from a place of emotional resilience, because you have done things like sleep and all the other things that we need to do to take care of ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. So tell me, we've touched upon this already. How has the medical profession changed since you began your career? And what do you think is the biggest challenge facing the medical community today?
Wow, two really big questions. I'll start with the first one. I suppose I need to qualify what I'm about to say, but I'll say it first and then I'll explain it. I think that medicine has become more feminine. And yes, certainly there are more women physicians now than there used to be. But what I mean by that is if we just think about the stereotypical masculine, feminine, yin yang sort of division of human traits, and this doesn't have to be tied to your biological gender or anything like that. But I do think that there is a little less of what we traditionally consider to be masculine traits and a little more of what we traditionally consider to be feminine traits. And that might be, greater space for taking care of ourselves. That might be greater space for human connection. I remember one time when I was in training, there was a group of 4 females on our team. And we were taking care of a patient at the VA who was dying. Young guy, day after day, never had a visitor, no family, no friends, no nothing. And it was just breaking all of our hearts. And we came out of the room one day and all 4 of us were in tears. I mean, not like, crying incessantly all day or anything, but like we all had tears in our eyes just because it was such a sad situation. And we all sort of giggled when we realized what had happened. And we looked at each other and we were like, it's a good thing there aren't any guys around. They would totally diss us for this, So I think, that's what I mean, that I think women sort of more intuitively bring that capacity to tolerate tears and sadness, as a reaction to the work we do. Whereas I think, the traditional masculine thing is don't feel it. Don't let them see you cry. Don't go there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You make a really good point. I don't know if you saw there was some research that came out. It was in the media last week saying that patients treated by a female doctor had better outcomes than
way, really? Yeah. I did not see that.
Yeah,
Thank you for telling me that.
Check it out. I actually saw it on Instagram. I don't know how reliable of a news media outlet that is, but I thought that was really interesting. And I love what you're saying. And I think when I was, in residency in the UK, there was this attitude from the more senior doctors that we had to suffer and you should too. And
yeah.
What a dreadful way to exist. And, if we think of that, from from a parenting perspective, we would never say that to our children, that, we suffered as children and therefore you should suffer as well. And, that culture was just dreadful, and really, it made the stigma of speaking up even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. So back to my second question. I shouldn't stack questions, so I do apologize. So what do you think is the biggest challenge in the medical community today?
Well, I guess I'm just going to give a personal opinion on this, and I'm going to say technology. And I will say in the same breath, I consider myself to be fairly technologically literate. I run an online company, and I still think that the burdens of technology and documentation are shifting our focus away from what matters. So I hear people complain over and over again, the doctor looked at the computer, not at me. It might take 5 full minutes to send an electronic prescription. You might spend another 5 full minutes checking all the boxes you need to check in your EMR to make sure that you meet the guidelines to get paid. None of that involves taking care of people.
Yeah.
And I think that technology should be there to allow us face-to-face time to sit down and say, what brings you in today? And to listen and to spend 99% of our time connecting with our patients and use technology silently in the backdrop to dot the I's and cross the T's and just make things happen for you. And we are not there yet. The technology has become a burden. The documentation requirements have become a burden that interfere with the time available to connect with people, to help establish a rapport, to get them to trust what you're saying, to get them to actually be compliant with the treatment plan that the two of you come up with that day. So I think that is one of the biggest challenges that lead to burnout and job dissatisfaction.
Yeah, you make a really good point. And I think, technology is wonderful in many ways, but we have to be really mindful of how much it's, the balance is tipping into it actually becoming more of a burden, for sure. Great points. I love that. So tell me, in your own professional career, what strategies have been useful for you for dealing with stress and the pressures of the medical profession and life in general?
Well, I am a huge fan of integrative medicine, and I would say that I really walk the walk. I don't just talk the talk in terms of recommending it for other people. And when I say integrative medicine, I mean nutrition, I mean sleep, I mean exercise, I mean stress reduction strategies, I mean focusing on supportive relationships. And so I'm sort of including all of those in the umbrella of integrative care. And one of my favorites is yoga. I started doing yoga after the birth of my first child. Okay, so for me, getting through medical school, like anatomy, dissecting the dead bodies, didn't faze me. Having a child, that gave me panic attacks. Oh my God, it's crying. What do I do? So that's when I discovered what anxiety was. Yoga was just a balm for my soul. I remember there was a YMCA near my house, and they offered childcare, so I could take my daughter and do some yoga for an hour. And the immediate relief I found was enormous. And incredibly reinforcing. It kept me coming back because it didn't make me feel worse. I would go for a run and feel worse after. I'd feel exhausted and my knees would hurt or whatever. But I would go do yoga and just come out of there floating. Now, of course, I think, there's so many different varieties of yoga. You have to find the kind that works for you, whether it's more active or more restorative. But I think that there's something within that for everybody at every stage of their lives. So that's been a mainstay for me. And it's something that I teach to the students in my online courses to this day. Meditation as well is something that I teach and also something that I practice every day. I'm super fascinated by some of the research coming out on the impact of meditation on the brain. And really, it's just mental rehearsal. It's like playing the piano in your mind if you're trying to learn to play the piano, except it's mental rehearsal for your life. That, I think, is the power of meditation. And so many people get caught up in this, sort of, I'm going to clear my mind and watch my thoughts go by, and then get frustrated because that's not really how the default mode network works. It keeps talking.
Yes.
It's a long time till that baby shuts down. And so people get frustrated by not being able to do meditation and give up on it. But if you just reframe it as mental rehearsal, what do you want life to look like? How is it going to feel? And you bring yourself into that state every day. Now that's a powerful tool to bring your life in alignment with what is most deeply true for you.
I love that. I used to do a therapy that I'm sure you've heard of, called neurofeedback. And I was mainly working with severely autistic children. And there was a couple that the neurofeedback just wasn't working with them. And my supervisor said to me, have you taught them meditation yet? And I was like, I'm a physician. Like, what are you talking about? Forgive me, this was 13 years ago. So, I've definitely changed a lot in that time, and I hope the world has too. And she said, go and read the research. And this was even back then. And like you say, there's a vast body of research on the benefits of mindfulness practice and meditation, whatever you want to call it. So I started teaching these severely autistic children meditation while I was watching their brainwave activity.
Wow.
And even in some of the nonverbal kids, it was like a switch being flicked between about 1.5 minutes and 3 minutes. It was
really,
it was like watching magic happen. I couldn't believe it. And I'm sure there's big studies done on it, but just my personal observation of that was, it totally convinced me that meditation and mindfulness practice works. And I also am a big believer, like you said, we have to find one that works for ourselves, personal. And we're so blessed today. I mean, there's a gazillion resources on YouTube, and there's tons of apps and things. I mean, back, Dr. Amelia, when you and I were younger, you had to buy stuff in order to learn how to meditate. You had to go and buy tapes or, CDs or whatever. And, but now it's super easy. So, I encourage what you're saying as well. Go out and experiment and find something that works for you. And the same with yoga too. Amazing. Yeah. How much do you think the medical profession is starting to, really take on board the practices of integrative medicine, the fact that diet really matters? And, I still see some doctors in my personal life who are still not on board with that. And I just find that very frustrating. So you're still in practice. How do you see that changing?
Yeah, I think that it's happening some, but not enough.
Yeah.
I was recently at the American Academy of Neurology meeting. And there were, in fact, lectures on integrative medicine. There's an integrative medicine subgroup of physicians who are interested in the research on this. But in my opinion, the reason that we're seeing the emergence of things like functional medicine is because that is an unmet need within mainstream medicine. People want to know how to live their lives so that they feel better. And that's not what mainstream medicine is about. Mainstream medicine is essential. Medications, surgeries, the things that we do really matter. But the things that the patient does matter too. And I feel like they matter more than most physicians understand or give credit or give time in their visit to. And I get how difficult it is to have a 10-minute conversation about nutrition and how you might feel like I am going to have this conversation and this patient is going to do nothing with it. I totally 100% get that. But I think that as time goes on, as the data accumulates, as we start to understand how much capacity we have to change our own bodies and our own health, that it will continue to grow over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Fantastic. So tell me, based on your long and prestigious career in medicine, what are your top 3 pieces of advice that you would give to people in general, and particularly, to people in the profession, on how to stay healthy and live their best lives? And please include one from your specialty.
Certainly. Okay, well, we already talked about sleep, so I won't go over that again. I'll go with my next top 3 recommendations. Take a good multivitamin every single day. I feel like so many people, even within the medical field, still have the idea that supplements just give you expensive pee. Yes. Have you heard people say that?
Oh my goodness, totally.
Well, maybe it did something good along the way to, making that. But So what I mean when I say a good multi is something with methylated Bs. Probably almost half of us, depends on which study you look at, have problems with one of the methylation genes. And that's important for nearly everything our body does, for making neurotransmitters, for getting rid of toxins, for epigenetic modulation of DNA. So I think that is a key factor. Make sure that your multivitamin includes some vitamin D. I think the message has gotten out there about vitamin D, so I won't go any further into that. Make sure your multivitamin supports mitochondria, and that means things like CoQ10, which is important for the electron transport chain. So, help your mitochondria make energy that influences every single cell in your body, no matter what it does, keeping your gas tank full. Vitamin B2 or riboflavin, usually if you're getting good methylated Bs, you're going to get that as well. So I just think that these are things to think about in terms of our health. And I think the second thing to focus on is learn more about nutrition. And I know you out there, I know you listeners, you're thinking, I'm a doctor, I already know what to eat. And I'm just going to say, maybe you don't, because that was certainly the case for me. And, people talk about it all the time, that there isn't that much emphasis on nutrition in med school, and it's true. And so I think that there are many things that we can do to help with that. And it isn't all about, eat low-fat yogurt. There's a lot to nutrition science. I think that, some people within medicine are trying to get the message out there. Dr. Mark Hyman is a fantastic, reputable source of information about nutrition and what we should be eating. I think Dr. David Perlmutter has done some fantastic work on what helps the brain in particular. So, get some information about what good nutrition actually really truly looks like, past what the American Heart Association tells you, past what the US RDA recommendations are for supplements. So look, I think you have to undertake some self-education in that. And then I think the last thing is a message all of us have heard before, but that movement piece, movement. It is so easy when you come home at the end of an exhausting day and you've got 3 kids to feed to just say, I'm not going to walk an extra half a block today, much less like get any exercise. But somehow find a way to change your schedule to make sure that, some exercise, preferably resistance training, weightlifting, is happening 3 times a week. Move mountains, make it happen. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
But literally, if you have to block off your schedule for an extra half hour or an hour during the day so that you can make that happen at a time of day when it's really doable with your life, make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. While you were talking, a personal kind of reflection showed up for me. We mentioned at the very beginning about the tracking devices, and I know there's a lot of amazing devices on the market now. Mine helped me discover that I was becoming really sensitive to sugar. And I was having these episodes in the middle of the night where I would wake up with that sense of doom. I sometimes was worried that it might be heart, but with the tracker, what was happening, really interesting, was that my blood sugar, I think, was dropping dramatically in the middle of the night. And my heart rate would go, and this was only if I ate a lot of sugar. If I had dessert or if I drank alcohol, my heart rate would be over 100, just kind of teetering over 100 until about 2 or 3 in the morning. And then it would plummet to about 50. And it coincided with this feeling of doom. It's like waking up feeling really unwell. And so, you mentioned like becoming a detective and becoming curious about, what's going on. And I often say to people, you are a totally unique human being and you have a totally unique body. And I think we're so busy today that we don't listen to our body. It's trying desperately to tell us what's going on.
And oh my gosh, you just said so many good things. I don't even know where to start. I think probably the biggest thing is, get data about your own body. And, like you, I have started using these devices and had similar insights. For me, one that was a big myth buster was this idea that a glass of red wine a day is healthy. It really isn't. If you look at the impact on your body, no, it's not. And it doesn't relieve stress, not at all. And so, I don't know who's funded these studies. If it was all like, Gallo or whatever, I'm not sure it wasn't. But, for me, that was key to figuring out, hey, this habit that I have been told is good for my heart is, whether or not it's good for my heart is definitely not good for the rest of my body. It's not good for my brain. It's not good for my heart rate variability, and it's not good for my sleep. So choose. And I'm not trying to be like some high and mighty, don't ever drink again. A glass of wine every now and then is amazing, but just don't fool yourself and think that it's good for you. Not for everybody, anyway.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I don't know who did that. Whose right idea that research and that that campaign was years ago. I remember my parents-in-law were total teetotalers and being told, in their late 70s that they should start drinking red wine every day. It's like, seriously? Crazy. What a crazy world.
Okay, I have to ask, did they?
No.
They didn't. Yeah. Okay. Good for them.
They really like it. So yeah, absolutely. Like, what a terrible idea. So I have loved our conversation. We can talk for hours, I know that. But this is not the Huberman Lab podcast where we go on for like 12 hours on a conversation, but maybe we'll return to it again. So my final question is there something you're working on right now that you'd like our audience to know about?
Yes, I am. I am bringing integrative medicine tools to people with headaches online. This all began as a result of my own frustration with the limitations of what headache medicines are able to do for people. Migraine is still the number one cause of disability in women under 50. It is a gigantic problem that is, taking women out of the workforce, taking moms away from their kids. And we have great medications, but it's clearly not fixing it. And so I wanted to streamline, simplify, and personalize integrative medicine tools for people who have headaches. So that is my mission.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to impact the lives of 1 million people with headaches by empowering them with the tools that they need for their own body to thrive, reduce headaches, and get back to the life that they love.
I love that. I have a goal of 1 million people as well. So what wonderful to see.
Yes.
I had a deathbed moment where I nearly died of COVID, and I was kind of, talking to the universe, and I was like, if you give me more life, I will improve the lives of 1 million people through health education. That was kind of my thing. So yeah, what a wonderful coincidence. I love that.
Nice.
Fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today. Beneath the podcast, there are going to be notes and links to connect to Dr. Amelia Scott Barrett so that you can find out more about what she does. She has an amazing TED Talk as well, so please go ahead and check that out. And I really want to honor you, Dr. Amelia, for making the world a better place. And to all the viewers out there, you are doing amazing work in the world. Go out and be happy, healthy, and abundant. Bye for now.